Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are going to make felt emoji cushions. We're going to start with some felt, fabric felt, tracers, scissors, string, needle, and our sketch. The first thing we're going to do is take a marker and find a circle tracer to trace a circle on your felt. Now your felt needs to be folded in half. So you take the long piece, fold it over, lining up the corners like a book. Okay? Next, take the biggest tracer you can have to fit in the space, not going over the edges. We will have scraps, so let's start it as far as we can to one side to leave enough space for another emoji. All right, I'm gonna hold this down, get my marker out, and start tracing my circle. Great. Once I have my circle traced, I can go ahead and get my scissors and start cutting out the circle. Make sure your felt is folded in half. You want two circles the exact same size. I'm going to carefully follow my circle, cutting the two pieces of felt together. If your scissors are having a hard time cutting both pieces, cut one at a time and use the first circle you cut out of the felt to trace the second one. We're going to do our very best to get our circles the same size. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna set my extra scraps to the side. Now, if you look at my circles, they're not perfect. They have a few little pointy edges on them. You can go ahead and carefully just trim off those pointy edges, or don't worry about it. Whichever side you have the marker on for marking your circle, that's gonna go on the inside of our project, so you will not see it. All right, next, you have to decide what kind of emoji are you going to create. I've done a few sketches in my sketchbook. That one's so funny. I think I'm going to just start with the heart emoji because it's less complicated. The more layers you have, the more sewing you will have to complete. This I just have to sew on 1, 2, 3 pieces. This one I would sew the black, the white, the black, and the red. That's 5 pieces. So once you have it drawn out, we want to go ahead and take your next pieces of fabric, pick your colors, and draw out your shapes. Now, my hearts, let me get a different marker so you guys can see. I'm going to draw my hearts. I'm going to draw them pretty big. Yep, that looks good. I'm going to fold my felt in half. So I'm cutting 2 at the same time. If you can't cut 2 at the same time, like I said before, let me show you what to do if you can only cut 1 piece at a time. Okay? So I have my 1 heart. I'm going to cut my heart. I'm going to cut it a little bit bigger than what I drew. It's always easier to cut it smaller. You can never make more, right? Let me just wipe off my marker. I don't want to get that on my yellow when I test it. Oh, that's a little too big. So test it out. Those heart eyes might be a little too big. I won't have enough room left for my smile. So I'm going to go ahead and trim those up. Oh, those look just right. Right, so I'm going to take this and cut another little square. It's much easier to work with smaller pieces of felt than the larger ones. Now you can sit here and trace your second heart, or just hold it right on top and cut your second heart eye. Now everyone can do any emoji you want, is expression that is school appropriate on the yellow felt. So I have my 2 heart emojis. I think I'm going to turn them kind of to the side, like the new app. The new messages show them a little turn and they fit better on my piece of work. So next, all right, next I'm going to do my mouth. I'm going to need to get some black. Let's see about what size I'm going to need. Let's see, big smile. And this one will be trickier. You're going to need white chalk or white oil pastel. You could trace a smile on that. I'm just going to cut out kind of like a boomerang shape. You could do a half circle for the mouth. It could be your own emoji. It doesn't have to be one that you've seen before. All right, now my edges aren't very clean here, so I'm going to go ahead and go in and try to clean them up as best as I can. The smoother your edges, the more professional it's going to look. Oh, that looks so cute. Look at my smile emoji. All right. So there we go. All right, so I have my heart emoji all mapped out and I'm ready to start sewing. So I'm going to set my scissors to the side. I'm going to get my needle. Now this is a needle, a wide looped needle. So we can get this embroidery floss through the needle head, but it must have a point to go through the felt. Now I'm going to use blue for the outside stitching, but on our facial expressions that we're going to stitch just to one piece of felt, I'm going to use a similar color. Now you can use the same color, you could use a contrasting color. I'm going to stick with the same color for this video, but it's going to be your choice. Now we're just going to do a simple running stitch for our face, to sew on our face expressions. All right. Sometimes if you have frayed ends, just trim them off to get them through that hole. If that does not work, you get a little piece of Scotch tape and you can wrap it around the top of those threads, fold it over, and it'll go right through the needle. Now you're just going to want to tie a knot just like you would your shoe. Take it under, loop it over, push it through and pull. Now I sometimes like to do 2 knots just to make sure, because as you sew, these knots will become loose. Now I have 2 knots. All right, now how to know how much thread we would need. Now with the running stitch, it's about the same amount of circumference as the piece of felt, like the outline. So I'm going to wrap it around and give myself an extra 2 inches just to be safe. You don't want too much because it makes it harder to sew the longer your thread is, but you don't want too little that you won't have enough to tie the knots or finish your stitch. So at the end, we're going to make another knot. We're going to cross it under, put it over, loop it through. Now you want your knot close to the end of your thread. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do another knot. You don't want your knot to be too small. I'm going to make a double knot, so I'm going to line it right up so it's extra thick.